And we're back. This is the Colombia Calling podcast. I'm Richard McColl here in Bogotá, Colombia, 2,600 meters closer to the stars. And this episode is very special. And you will know, as my listeners out there, that I am a trustee of Children Change Colombia, an excellent small charity that really does work to protect Colombia's most at-risk children. Children who are at risk of being recruited into armed groups or being pulled into a drug addiction or micro-trafficking or worse, prostitution and beyond. And so this week, we're going to discuss Children Change Colombia and the project that they have in downtown Bogotá, ACJ. It's in the area of Los Mártires. Now, some of you will know Los Mártires. It's an area west of the Carrera Décima, downtown. In history, it was a very, very important part of Bogotá. When you go down to these areas, there's a church of the Voto Nacional, which is only just being opened up again for visitors. There's the pinnacle there, the memorial to the martyrs during the Republican movement who were executed by the Spanish. Calle 13, which is the original entry to Bogotá from the plains, from Fontibón. It is somewhere that should be national heritage for Bogotá, but it's always been seen as the back patio of Bogotá, of La Candelaria. And so this week, we're going to be talking to three individuals who had the opportunity to go down to this area and visit with ACJ on behalf of Children Change Colombia to see what the NGO is doing down there, what they are doing at this less salubrious part of the city, actually a pretty dangerous part of the city. If you have no reason to go there, you don't go. That's the reality. We have two Colombians who are resident in the UK, in London, and a Briton, of course, who was there as well. And they visited ACJ and saw and will reflect as we have this conversation about what it happens and what is being done in this charity. So I'm going to introduce all three, and then we'll hear from them about their experiences and how they've become involved in Children Change Colombia and supporting this NGO. So we've got Abhijit Kapadia, who is an Indian-born Briton, but he's really a Colombia-phile, and he organizes Lat-Indian, so that's Latin Indian, themed events. That's kind of a fusion. The one coming up is Colombia Masala, and Children Change Colombia will be there. Music, dance, and entertainment. So check that out on Facebook, because I know he's a voracious poster on Facebook about these events. We've got Betty Encinales, who's the director of Recruit. That's a global talent acquisition specialist. So you can check out their website too. And we have Carlos Ordoñez, who is a fintech solution specialist. So all three of you, welcome on the Colombia Calling podcast.
Thank you.
And
Thank
so
you.
Thank you for having us.
That's it. All jump in. I want a conversation here. So let's go straight to Abhijit and talk about how you got involved in Children Change Colombia. You're one of the most active, in fact, all of you are, some of the most active supporters of the NGO. Tell us how you got involved and how you ended up going down to Los Mártires and seeing this project in what is a depressed area of Bogotá.
Yes, thank you, Richard. In terms of how I got involved in the charity, it's very, very simple. As you alluded to, that I run Latin-themed events, and I was given the opportunity to run the I Love Latino night in Camden a number of years ago for the Children Change Colombia charity, and that's how I kind of got involved with the charity per se. Actually, Angelica Lopez, a very, very famous Colombian singer, was the person that first introduced me through. And then I followed that up with my networking abilities. And then I just contacted a few people in the charity, got to know them, and just said what I do, that I'm a Latin mad loving Indian. And on the social scene, I got kind of involved and known. And then I managed to just support the charity, in different projects and different areas, mainly around entertainment, and just developed a relationship with people. I went on the Thames Walk, went to some of their events as well. And recently I went to the project talk. I actually booked a ticket to go to Colombia back in March. I booked it through Solomon Travel, who well, because of the charity, the Change Colombia charity. So I kept it all in house. Got a welcome invite to the to the project talk. Met all sorts of different people as well who I've not met, and also reacquainted with certain people through obviously not being in touch with them through COVID and 2-3 years. So it was a question of re-establishing things. Got to meet Angela Carreno, the chief, the chairman, I guess, or I think the director, sorry. You know, she wanted me to be involved in the projects that I learned about, and I thought, well, I'm going to Bogotá, so why not? Why not go to one of the, hopefully get an invitation to go to one of the projects, or you know, and go to the area. And so in December, just about a month or so ago, or just under a month ago, visited. I actually went as a real sort of like tourist into the. I've only been to Colombia once, and so I actually then spent some time in looking around Colombia, the different cities. But I came back to after having done salsa a lot in Cali. I came back to Bogotá, and I didn't have a phone that was connected to the Wi-Fi. I didn't have a local phone. I used my iPhone that I got in London. So I had no way of being able to get directions to the place apart from just the Google Maps that the taxi driver had got, because the charity arranged to bring me to the place. And so I literally got to the place and I said, "Is this the address? Are you sure this is the address?" Wasn't sure. Asked a couple of people. They said they weren't sure, and I was a bit concerned because I didn't have any connections or anything. And then eventually I walked into this office, and this lady said, "Try around the corner." And then as I walked out, panicking, I then met Martha. I think it was, and then Angela was there. So I had a massive relief. So I was really, really happy. And then I felt reassured. And then I met Betty, who I've known on Facebook from the Latin America show, I think it was a few years ago. And then I met Carlos. I had the pleasure of meeting Carlos as well. So I felt a little bit at ease.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know what to expect at that stage. So
you go down there and it's these faceless buildings, right? I mean, that's it. And the sign is there, but it's, again, if you don't know where you're going, you're just sort of left there. And so I'm glad that you were able to get in and someone was able to guide you in the right way, because they present, you know, Colombians are wonderful people, and they will tell you, you know, give you directions, but to anywhere. It might be the wrong place just to ingratiate themselves. So, you know, that's one of the realities. So you've got a good person who said, you know, round the corner. And what was your first reaction? I know you can go up the stairs in this building, and I suppose there's a cacophony of noise from the children playing in there.
Oh, yes, that was very, very good. The first thing I do need to say that I don't speak fluent Spanish. And so that was an initial challenge for me, because thinking that, you know, a lot of everything is going to be in actual Spanish talk, and am I going to be able to follow it? But, you know, I had Carol, I think it was actually explaining in English when she could what was happening. But it was a great experience just to go there and see and open my eyes to something that's actually a reality, rather than through, you know, watching it on a television screen or reading it in a book. Is such an amazing experience to actually see how things are. And I felt very much at ease, because one of the first things we did was went into a room where they were all dancing. And I love music. And so they were doing a dance to Jingle Bells, and I thought that was really, really cool. So I took on the role of actually taking the videos and posting and seeing, some of the Children Change Colombia visitors, Betty and Carlos and Angela, getting involved with the students and learning some of the routines and the moves. And I thought that was really, really good way to just sort of integrate into the initial session we were involved in, or we were taken to.
Well, it's such uplifting news that, you know, you're so involved in this and so personally invested that you would go to the project in a place where, you know, I tell my mother-in-law or something who's not from Bogotá, but I tell her, no, I'm going down to Los Martires, and she starts crossing her, the cross in front of her face and so on. It's like, oh, be careful. But I think it's interesting that we take some opinions from Colombians as well. I mean, so I'm going to go over to now. Let's go over to Betty and say, listen, what was your experience? I mean, you are a Bogotana. I think. You are a Bogotana.
I am a Bogotana.
To go down to Los Martires, I mean, when you were going down, first of all, what did your family have to say about this?
Well, my mom and dad were completely against it. I mentioned to them that I was actually going to visit a project in Los Martires in Santa Fe. And my parents were like, are you crazy? Are you insane? Yeah. Literally, my mom was against it, and my dad, that they were really upset with me. But I said, look, I am definitely going to go. I have worked within different organizations all my life. I'm very connected to social work in very vulnerable areas where I have distributed food and resources in the past. So I'm kind of a brave woman to go there. But yeah, what my parents have to say was are you crazy? Yeah. What my friends have to say was the same. But I think one of the things I'm really connected in my life is actually the fact that we need to learn about things as they are, not just seeing them on documentaries or just read books or get impression from other people. Obviously, I have to be very careful, and that means we call a cab. Obviously, we didn't have any jewelry or a mobile phone or anything like wearing nothing that was valuable. Very low profile, like you should go onto these places to not attract any sort of attention. And the impression for me was shocking, to be honest, when we were arriving to Los Martires. Obviously, there is a few streets that are full of prostitutes and homeless, and a lot of people in drugs. So you can see that they are completely passed out. So that was shocking for me, and I was quite nervous. But the moment we enter to the house or the organization where the kids are learning, it was a shock, positive shock, because it was all clean. It was just like a little oasis in this place, which was really nice to see. So yeah, that's the first answer.
So I think that's it, isn't it? It's the shock, and then of course you get through that door and everything is different, and there's this reality. As you see, you're going there, you have your people passed out in the streets, homelessness, prostitution, micro trafficking, and it's, as they say, like a zona de tolerancia. These things are in your face. There's no reason to hide it. It's right there. And this is the reality that the children see every single day. And that's, of course, what Children Change Colombia are trying to obviously help with. So, Carlos, if I move over to you on this one, when you think of these realities and when you visited, what is your overwhelming feeling? Is that we've got to do more as a Bogotano? How do you feel when you get down there?
So I think Bogota as a city is divided into two sides of the city. People that have lived most of his life in maybe the north part of Bogota, people that have maybe to go to work or study in major universities in the city center in town. So they go, but they might not see the other kind of face of Bogota, right? So I had to actually, before this time when I was burning Bogota, I had to pass that road many times because my mom was working in the center. She's a lawyer, so she had all the notarias and all these kind of places over there in the center of Bogota. So I had to pass through that area many times before, but never enter and went inside. And just by seeing these kids and how happy they were, right? Even though what they have is not as many other people in Bogota on the other face of Bogota, right? It was shocking at the start, especially how happy they were, and as it was mentioned before, they just start dancing when we enter. Like they were really warm to us, and then I just remember the kids, really small kid, just grabbed my arm and started dancing with me, and I didn't know what to do. And seeing their faces really, really happy all the time, even though they live in those conditions. It's just, I think it's great that Children Change Colombia and these organizations are doing something to help these kids, even though for me it's not enough, it's never enough. There should be more and more, not from charities, just like Children Change Colombia that is doing a lot, but also the government, and how the government is just like not paying attention to these people or to the kids, no, like considering what life is for these kids, seeing everything what they can see in there. They were telling us about murders, obviously prostitution, many other things that happen in there that are shocking. Even though we were like going around the area, it was just shocking seeing all the kind of things that are happening there. Imagine kids, 10, 8-year-old kids seeing those kind of stuff. So I think people and the government should do more, but obviously that doesn't depend on us. And I think this is why we all went there, because even though we are through an organization, we're trying to support them and try to help them to get to know, like people get to know the organization to see how they can support even further.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, isn't it? We sort of wonder why there isn't more involvement, but of course, this is a complex country with all sorts of issues. I want to know when you guys got in there, I don't know who wants to jump in. You had an opportunity to talk to some of the children. Were there children who were displaced from other parts of Colombia who would tell you about where they came from originally? Maybe Betty.
I never really asked the question if they were moved from city to city, but what I was very impacted was that they have different sort of like classes that they're trying to integrate for those kids, not just to have like the education, but actually to have a much more integrated kind of education. Like, for example, they were playing music or they were dancing, and the reason is because basically what they explained to us is that it's not just about giving the possibility to study, but actually to give them the possibility to enjoy life, to see that there is other things to do. They can be happy without just seeing the reality that they have to see every day.
Yeah.
The part that impacted the most, to be honest with you, was talking to the prostitutes that are becoming or left prostitution because of these programs that Children Change Colombia is creating, and that really impacted me. We saw 3 ladies that were in the meeting room just doing like their own projects that they wanted to become entrepreneurs. One was with soap products, so she wanted to create some soap for animals. The other one is actually a very amazing, she does like sewing, and she works in kind of fashion, so she's creating these amazing bags and jackets. And the last one was doing some products for like food, so she's doing some food to sell. But I love that they were working as like as a social, like as a prostitutes in the past, and so sexual workers, but now they're actually building their own businesses and trying to get some help and getting educated and supported with this project, which I found it amazing, because that's what we're trying to do. The idea on this project is not just to provide some funds, but actually to create a different opportunity for those people to change their lives, so they can change their life of the children, and the children grow up in a different environment. So that impacted me a lot.
I think that's one of the things, and Abhijit, maybe you can jump in on this one. When you walked around that area, obviously you were accompanied by people from the project, and you see like the spaces where, the spaces where prostitutes, they pay for that space, right? I mean, the whole thing is a business, the whole thing down there. And what is another thing that impacts me on going down is there's no open spaces for children, or if there are open spaces, they are entirely co-opted by the gangs. Maybe Abhijit, you can give us some of your reflections on walking around the Santa Fe area of Los Martires.
Yeah, I mean, my eyes were looking everywhere. Literally, just the whole sort of like experience was really harrowing for me. I've never really experienced anything like this before. I've been to a areas of, you know, in India, which are poverty driven, deprived as well, and they're called shanty towns, or, you know, but seeing just general, you know, obviously seeing the prostitutes in the areas and they're occupying their spaces, seeing people walking maybe towards as well, and then just seeing the general people on the streets and all smoking quite a lot as well, and being drunk and stumbling. Yeah, I was firstly, obviously, from a visitor's perspective, I was happy I didn't have a phone or anything of valuable on me, as Betty alluded to initially. I even took my jumper off because it was quite a hot day, actually, which is quite nice to know. But you know, yeah, my eyes were just like watching around. I remember saying to Caroline, I think it was Carol, sorry, this guy, this cop, he's got a gun. He's like, and he looks so young. He looks like about 16 to 17 years old. And I don't know how old he was, but he just looks so young. And I was thinking to myself, wow, you know, this is like real. This is real right now for me. This is real. It could be a film or something when I'm at home watching, but this is reality right now. And I need to be on my guard. I've got, you know, comfort of the fact and reassurance that I'm with the project and nothing's going to happen. You just thought at any minute at a time you let your guard down, something could happen, but you just actually see the reality of it, and it strikes you, and you think, "Wow, this is something. This is a real experience," and I'm so happy I went to it. Just on the flip side of that, I just wanted to also mention two things very quickly about the initial projects I visited as well. I was so enamored by the fact that the kids were so happy to dance, and also when we asked them to play musical instruments, they just went and did it. Sometimes you get shyness. They weren't bashful at all. They were very, very positive and confident. And I think even when I was walking out, because I saw a lot of the letters and the names of animals in English, I'm sure one of the guys said to me, "Where are you from, bro?" And I thought, wow, that's kind of like, and I said to him, "Soy India." And he smiled. And I think that was quite engaging for me. Just literally as I was walking out, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, where he was from exactly, but I just thought that was a real experience as well. So you take the rough with the smooth, and you know, you kind of like just are happy to be involved in that moment, in that period of time when you can experience quite a few different, you can go through different emotions in your head, in your mind, your feet, everything. You just feel you're on edge, but at the same time you're happy to be there, if you see what I mean. I
absolutely understand. And I think maybe Carlos, because you say your mother worked in the downtown part, you are maybe, as they say in Colombia, you have más mundo for the area, or you're a little bit more experienced in the area. But I want to sort of talk about it is when you walk around. One thing that struck me, because I spent so much time in the Calle 13 and around the Estación de las Sabanas, the original train station, and a little bit in the former Bronx and what is now the Bronx, the new one. But when you were walking, I'm sure you recognized straight away the jibaros, the people who controlled each block. You could tell, Carlos, couldn't you, who was in control? And it's with their permission that you get to walk around here. How did you feel under their gaze?
So when I was around 16, 17, I used to go with my mom to the center of town, right? Just to do meetings, whatever she had to do for work. And it was okay because she felt confident going there, and then going even if it's not the prettiest part of Bogota, right? It was okay. But this part is a little bit different. Obviously, where we were in December, it was more, as you say, we can see different people like controlling, people that control the area and everything. So we were in the building where the kids were and stuff. And then as soon as we went out, I remember we went to a corner, and then the person that was showing us around just mentioned about how the gangs control the area, how the gangs, there are two different gangs apparently, gang from Venezuela and gang from Mexico. Can't remember the name, Sinaloa Cartel, I think it was. No, so he was telling how they control the place.
Yeah.
Sorry?
The Tren de Aragua is the Venezuelan.
That's the Venezuelan one.
Yeah.
Yep. And then he was telling us how they control that place, and nobody moves without they knowing that they're moving in that place. And behind us at that point, there was a woman serving coffee in a car, a small car, to everyone. And then I remember he was saying, even that woman that's serving coffee, she might be looking at us thinking what we're gonna do and informing the people that manage the zone and that place in case we do something strange. We could realize actually that, at least me, that the person that was us was really well known in the area for the good service that he was giving to the community. And I think for that reason, they didn't approach us or anything, because one thing that I noticed is that many women that were there working and sexuals and everyone was trying to talk to the different guys or people walking around. But as soon as they look at us, they see us, they didn't even look at us or anything. They just, they didn't say anything. So it's the kind of vibe of respect maybe for what they're doing, because even though they live in that life, they knew that these people in Children's Change Colombia are trying to do good to the kids that are involved in that area. So I felt a little bit safe. However, same, I was thinking, what's going on here? Every time I was trying to look around. Normally when I walk in Bogota, I look around just to make sure nothing, something weird, you have to pay attention, But in that area, I was more kind of being aware of what's happening around me in my surroundings, just to make sure that everything was okay. I was kind of different. It was an experience going around the area, but it was kind of good to see that some charities, some organizations are trying to make the difference and trying to help over there.
And Carlos, maybe when you are, obviously you're Colombian, so native speaker, did you get to speak to some of the children in the project in ACJ and hear about their stories?
No, really, not to the kids, because we were more doing activities with them, like dancing that they said before, playing as well. I think it was the piano that they were playing. But we spoke to, so after going around the place, we went to house of someone that works there in the area. She wanted to tell us a little bit about her story, everything. And where you were saying about displacement, I think she mentioned that she's taking care of 6 different kids in that house, quite a lot. 2 of them or 3 of them, I can't remember how many, were Colombian. She was Venezuelan. So she moved there about 2 years ago. I can't remember how long ago. She had about 3 kids, and the other 3 kids was from someone that was misplaced in Colombia. And then her mom was killed, was murdered there in that place. And then their dad was in jail, something like that. So we were talking to her about her experience, what she was doing there, well, how she can support these kids, right? She was living there by herself. I think an aunt of hers or of the kids was coming time to time just to help her out. But I was shocked by the space of the house. It was really, really tiny house. She was amazing, really good host, was trying to give us all the best. Like as soon as we entered, we felt really warm. We sat down, she was telling us her story, how she can support these kids, and that she does whatever for her kids, even though some of the kids are not her own, as she said, are Colombian. She's trying to help them out, and even though went to a judge because they want to take some of the kids apart from her, the Colombian kids. So yeah, it was life changing when I heard about her story, what she was doing, and to support these kids and everything. So I think that was the main interaction that we had, if I'm not wrong.
Betty, you wanted to say something, add something.
Yeah, I echo what you were saying, Carlos. I mean, for the visit was incredible because it gave us in 3 hours an overview of what people live, what the project is about, and the impact that this have on mothers, like the woman that we were talking to. This woman was selling coffees in the streets. She has to pay per day her living. So they're living in these houses that are shared by a lot of other people that have pretty much like no resources. They're really poor, but she managed to have it very clean, and she was kind of showing her home to us and sharing the experience on how hard it is for her as a single mother to protect these 6 children, and how massively like support she's been given by Children Change Colombia, by looking after the kids while she's actually trying to make her living selling coffees in the street. So that was very impactful. Not just the visit around the neighborhood that was very impacting for us, because as you were saying, Carlos, we were seeing the reality by the prostitutes, the homeless, and how divided it is, and that you really feel like there's a control above all this. The government knows, but nobody says anything. Also the experience of the kids dancing, singing, and sharing with us at that moment. But the most impactful for us, I think, was to actually listening to the story of how all these mothers, mostly sexual workers, that leave their children in this organization, and they're having the opportunity to work while their children is being looked after in the right conditions. So but other thing I want to add into this is that before this project, I was a little bit judgmental in some aspects. I was always thinking these women are not finding other types of opportunities for them. I'm a woman, and I'm always thinking about that, like why those women cannot find other types of jobs. And actually having a conversation with a social worker that was leading this project came with us. He said to me, you wouldn't know how hard it is for those women to actually find other opportunities. They're kind of marked for life when you're a sexual worker, and they don't have any other abilities. And the majority of them have, and they expose their lives every single day to be killed, and they export their life to have diseases, and they pretty much don't have any other choice, because when they sign up for this, basically what he was explaining is that it's not that simple to leave. So before my visit, I was actually quite judgmental, as I said, Richard. But then after I understood that it's not only that they don't want to change their life, it's actually they're having it very difficult. And having the opportunity to visiting this home and knowing that there's a lot of women in this situation where they have no support from the government or nothing else. They have to make some money to feed 6 children. It's quite worrying, so that was also very overwhelming for us.
I think, is this the house, the apartment round the corner, right on the corner of almost the 24 around there? Because I think I went up, but the lady has it's an incredible story. I mean, it's a tragic story, but she is a success story of ACJ, and of course supported by Children Change Colombia, that she was able to get to where she is now, to look after 6 children. And it is kind of amazing, isn't it? And downstairs, I think there's a recycling, I won't even say bodega is the only way I can put it, because you wouldn't pay recycling center, because it's very, very informal. And these people go out all day and night looking for cardboard and metal and rubber and cable and so on. And yes, hearing from her is something that really brings it very close, very personal. And I it's incredible to hear from you, Betty, to say, you arrived with one opinion and left with another one, it's so very important, because now you can share that with others. And I think, this goes now, not, from your mouth to the ears of your family, and saying, listen, I was down there. I've seen the people, I've seen a reality, I've heard it. And how it's an incredible opportunity to take one person out is a success, but there are thousands, and that's the truth. And we need to work together to do this. And I am overwhelmed that you should be able to get down there and see the work being done, and the work, these children being so happy. And Abhijit mentioned it, is so ready to play the music and so ready to dance. It's a very cultural thing. In England, we don't dance, and we get shy when you're playing music, and therefore you see the joy that these children have in being able to show you what they have learned and what they are now doing. And it was very, very impacting to me to go down there. But I want to I mean, we
Can I just raise one thing very
Yeah.
quickly? Sorry, just on that point, Richard. You know, two things again really kind of came to the fore. My reaction or my overwhelming excitement at going back to the hotel I was at and telling the people what I did in the morning. You know, bittersweet in that sense was just in my broken Spanish was a lot of fun. But one of the things I did notice is not many people know about the charity. I'll come onto this a bit later on. But what I tried to do is I tried to connect the hostel I stayed at, because there are a lot of young people there, and obviously they take in people, you know, looking to travel around South America and see Colombia obviously first, but then also to travel to South America. But they were all very interested in the charity and what the charity were doing. And my experiences being probably obviously from London, you know, so adding that to the point where, you know, I can put my virtual reality glasses on and in a project talk in the Hippodrome in London, to actually then having the opportunity to actually visit within 1 month or so, maybe, yeah, give or take 1.5 months. An incredible feeling for me, because, you know, I could have gone to the project talk and heard about everything and not visualize what was happening. And again, like Betty's, you know, opinion changed. What she was saying, she was very, you know, her changed from the visit before till after. So same with me in that sense, although I didn't have any expectations, but I just was really happy to have the opportunity to go from A to B, if you see what I mean. So I just wanted to share that.
No, I love that side of things. Betty, I quickly wanted to ask again, you saw the ladies with their emprendimientos, their startups, soap, embroidery, bags, jackets, food. Did you have the opportunity to buy anything from them?
I couldn't, but I am in touch with one of them, which I'm hoping to help, because I think she's very talented. Also, she has an amazing product. The only problem, obviously, is that she has not any connections with anything, but they're very talented. They need some visibility, and they need a little bit more help from other people that might be able to connect them to other places. This lady is actually have her own taller in her own home, and she's trying to kind of build this small business with her family. But again, she's very talented. The bags were amazing, and I'm trying to put them in touch with one of the companies I'm very close to. So see if they're kind of give her the opportunity to manufacture their employees gifts for Christmas. So that's what I'm gonna do before I head back to London, and I'm really hoping to connect her with other person as well that might need someone that do this type of work in retail. So hopefully.
So I mean, these are the good news connections and contacts that come out of this kind of experience.
Yeah.
And Carlos, you're now back there in London. Abhijit's in London. Betty's here in Colombia, visiting at the moment. But Carlos, you're in London. How has the visit, you know, changed you when you come back? Are you telling more people in the Colombian diaspora or your English friends about the charity?
So first, the experience is life-changing. Is completely. There is an after, a before and after. Is you get to know, well, you realize how privileged you are just by coming to the UK, just by the had the chance to grow up, were born in Colombia. I had the chance to come here to the UK and work here and live here. And the first thing that I did when I left this place, I went and told a few friends in Colombia even that they haven't been there, they don't know what's going on there. And I just explained to them how small things can change the life of these people. Like I was in contact with one of them to see if we can donate some clothes or something like that. I couldn't at the end, but it's just like small things that we get for granted. These people need it. And even though maybe not in the UK, but in Colombia, people can do something as well. So I spoke to a few friends to see how we can support the organization there just by donating some stuff. I have a few, I used to play the violin and the guitar. I don't play them anymore, and I have them in Colombia. They are not like nobody used them. So by donating those stuff, people can enjoy them. Kids can play them, right? And here in the UK, I met few friends of mine that I have told them about the experience. I don't think people realize how like the situation until they see it, until they experience the situation, because it's totally different. Is one thing is telling you how it is, but one thing is viewing or seeing in your own eyes what Children Change Colombia and these organizations are doing for kids. So I've been telling many people about my experience over there. Everybody sounds kind of, they want to know how they can support, but they don't know how sometimes. So I was going to talk to Angela and some other guys at Children Change Colombia to see how we can maybe do something else, or fundraising. So whatever we can do to promote, I will be up for it.
Well, I'll take this moment as we wind down now to say, listen, thank you, all of you, for your time, sharing your experiences. You noticed that socioeconomic divide in the city from where you were staying or where you live, and then going down to Santa Fe in Los Martires. But the people are wonderful, and they received you with open arms. And these projects, ACJ, supported by Children Change Colombia, it really does do a job of keeping the children off the streets, out of harm's way, out of the reach of illegal gangs, illegal armed groups, micro trafficking, of course, falling into becoming sexual workers. And there, I know that in ACJ, they also, it's a voluntary opportunity for women and sex workers to receive psychosocial help should they want it, to enable themselves to perhaps leave this industry and the danger that they put themselves in every single day. So let me say thank you to Betty, Abhijit, and Carlos for their time. It's so uplifting to hear of people who have seen these things with their own eyes, Colombians and Britain as well. Therefore, different perspectives, but with the same aim. So thank you again for your time. And I know that people will enjoy this episode because it's very personal, isn't it? So thank you, Betty, Abhijit, and Carlos.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, thank you for the time.
It's been an absolute pleasure to all three of you. And so please, you can check out Children Change Colombia very easily on the internet. So it's Children Change Colombia. They have also Instagram, and doing great things, and also all sorts of fundraising drives all throughout the year. Walks, Thames walks. I think there was a dancing drive. Betty offers her services as in sort of recruitment. Is it recruitment talks that you give, Betty, sometimes that people sign up for? And of course, Abhijit's Lat Indian fusion evenings and afternoons. I know that a lot of the money, you take money there for the charity itself. So thank you, all of you, for your help and for your continued support of the NGO Children Change Colombia. This has been the Colombia Calling podcast. I've been Richard McColl, and of course, complete transparency, as always, I am a trustee of Children Change Colombia. So therefore, therein lays not just one interest, but another interest, not just helping Colombia's most at-risk children, but also helping to organize and ensure that the NGO, fulfills its aims. We'll go over now to some of our sponsors, and then, of course, sign off. Be sure to sign in next week and listen to another interview about something Colombia related. Bye-bye.